Hello everyone. So today I'll explain functional component and class components. So functional components. So in that functional components are JavaScript function that returns React element. It's a JSX. So functional components are JavaScript functions that return React elements. In we can say JSX. And before React 16.8, they were called stateless components because they could not manage their own state. For React 16.8, they were called stateless components because they couldn't manage their own state. And after React 16.8, with the introduction of hooks, functional components can manage state, side effects, and more. After React 16.8, with the introduction of functional components can manage state, side effects, and more. So now I will tell about the syntax of in VS syntax of functional component. Simply function, we can say like in element, function name is element, and then return h1 like hello world. So that is functional component. It is like simple function. Okay. And if I talk about, it is like it is the syntax of functional component. If I talk about key features, what is the key features of functional component? So it is simpler and shorter syntax. Key features. It is simpler and shorter syntax. It is, and in that hooks like use state, use effect, like functional components very powerful. Hooks like use state, use effect, make functional components very powerful, and no need for this keyword. In that, no need for this keyword, and it is like better for performance in many cases because they were lightweight. Better for performance in many cases because they are oh, I'm writing again. No need for this keyword, and then better for performance in many cases because they are lightweight. Okay, so these are the functional component. Now I will explain class component. So class components are ES6 classes that extend React.component. Class components are ES6 classes that extend React.component. React.component, and they can manage their own state. They can manage their own state, like life cycle methods, and like component did mount, and component and component did update. So that's our class components. Now I will explain syntax of class component. So first we need to import React component named from React, and then it is import, then class element extends component, and render, render, return, return in H1, like hello Ria. That is the syntax of class component. Now we will see about key feature of class component. Key, key features. So it is like must use the render method to return JSX. Must use the render method to return JSX. And this keyword is used for props, state, and etc. also. And it is like full support for life cycle, life cycle hooks, cycle methods without hooks, without hooks. And then it is used heavily before hooks were introduced. So that is the key feature of class component. So main difference is like in feature, it is in syntax, and in feature like in syntax, functional component in JavaScript function, and class component in is ES6 class. And if I talk about state management, so in functional component using hooks after React 16.8, and class component using this dot state. And lifecycle method, so in that functional component hooks like use effect, and class component did mount, component did update, like etc. And this keyword, so functional component in not required in this keyword, and class component required this keyword. And code length, in functional component shorter, and code is shorter and cleaner, and class component more verbose. And performance, it is functional component slightly better, and class component slightly heavier. And I will tell which one is to use today. So today functional component with hooks are the standard, and class components are still supported but are less common in new projects. But functional components make code more readable, easier to test, and less boilerplate. So today, next is which one to use today. So today functional components with hooks are the standard, and it is also like in class component are still supported but are less common in new project. Class components are still supported but are less common in new projects. Functional component make code more readable, easier to test, and less boilerplate. And in functional components make code more readable, easier to test, and less boilerplate. Now I will explain one example of functional component and class components. So first of all, I will explain its functional component. That is the functional component. It is using arrow function. Okay, I will not use arrow function. Simply, I am writing the code. So function, and then element, element, and then return, return like one date. Okay. So in that h1 means hello, and now I will create one button, and in that button I will write like some message. Okay, so in that message, and now I need to like one p tag. In p tag we can write have a great day. Now we want, like, if I click on button, so the text will change. Okay, so how we can that? So first we need to const show message, and then set set show message. Use state, and first we will like writing in false, and then import react, in that use state from react. Okay, so now I want to apply in button, like on click, in that on click simply like toggle message, and then const toggle message, and now arrow function, and then set show message, and not show message. Okay, so and then I applied on click, and then I will apply here. in like show message, I will apply ternary operator. In that hide and then show. Text will hide or show. Have a great day. If I will click hide, so hide, and then if I will click show, so text will show. And then export default element. I imported element.js, so simply I will run cdif and then npm start. Now we will see what will happen. Will run in browser. In browser. Yeah, it is working. Now I will check if show. So if I click hide, text is not hide. Why? Hide and show. Okay, 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 okay. Also, we need to apply P also. So in that, because we have to apply like hide on show in that show message, and we need to apply and operator and then P. Now we will check. See, if I will click show, then it is show. If I will click hide, so it will hide. So that's how works in we can work in functional component. Okay. So in that class component, now I will explain same example with class component. Okay. So that is functional component. I will comment this code and then simply import React and then component from React class like an element extends component and then render and then return in return I want one div, simply I want h1. H1 hello and then one button. need to one div button, and then p text. Hi, and then have a great. So in that I will apply constructor. Constructor props, and then props, and then super props. These dot state, and then show message false, and we have to apply button on click, on click, like this dot toggle message. Okay, I will apply first. I will write toggle message, toggle message. So in the toggle message, so toggle message, so in that toggle message, we need to write we will cut and then toggle message is dot set state, set state, and then show message, show message, and then this dot state dot show message. Okay, so in that, in h1 I will apply this dot, these dot props dot line, and then in button we will apply these dot, these dot toggle message, and here we will apply these dot state dot show message, and then net Peter. Sorry, that waiting for too long. This dot on this dot state show message. This dot this dot state show message and then hide and then show. And then the text is message. And now in that these dot state dot show message and this text. Now I will run this cd my app npm start. Okay, export default I forget. So I will export default element. Now it will run. So if I click show message, why it's not working? I will check here. So it is like constructor props and super props this dot state and then show message false and then toggle message this dot set state and then show message not this dot state show message and then render div h1 in h1. Okay, welcome message also. Well, this dot props dot name and on click this dot toggle message and this dot state show message and then hide show message and in that this dot state dot show message and p. Is the error. Plus element is also fine. Props super props this dot state show message false. If show message true then what? Then toggle message and then this dot set state show message not this dot show message. Not working. And then these dot state dot show message and then render div h1 button on click this dot toggle message, this dot states on message, this hide and show, and then message button this dot states on message and p. I don't know why it is not working. I will fix it and then I will tell. Okay. So that's all about functional and class component. That how we can use for functional and class. That is the syntax. We can use element, extend, component, and we can use constructor, props, and these dot state. Basically, in class component, we can use these. So that's all about functional and class component. If you like this video, so please share and subscribe. And I will fix it and I will explain it in next video how I fix it. Okay, so that's all about today video. Thank you.